Hi everyone, this is Laura Lee Collet from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've been stamping and a demonstrator since 2004. I have a few tricks that you may not know, so stay tuned and we're going to get started on making some cards. Before I go to our cards, this is we call it in Stampin' Up speak, DSP, Designer Series Paper. And I am always amazed at our artisans and designers that come up with this gorgeous paper. And all I can say is it just keeps getting better and better. This happens to be the one we're going to be using today, and it is called Lovely and Beautiful, which it certainly is. The colors in it are Calypso Coral, Darling Duckling, Fresh Freesia, Gold, Old Olive, Peach Pie, and Petal Pink. Now, a number of those colors we're going to be using in our card, but let me just kind of flip through a little bit. There's some subtle pages. There's some that are bold with gold. There's a freesia page. This happens to be the page I'm using today. It has little flowers on it, and it's so cute. There's another one that has more greens and things in it. But you can just see why I am so impressed with this paper. And then there are a couple pages that are just gold and white. So, okay. And I loved it so much that I got 2 sets by accident. But that's okay. I love it and I'll use it. The other thing I wanted to tell you about is that Stampin' Up! Has come out with they have come out with what we're calling the product of the month. The product of the month changes every month. So far, they have had designer paper. They have had, I'm going to move this little lamp over so I can see a little bit better. They had a stamp set. This time it is this designer paper, and I haven't even opened it yet. I wanted to save it and do that with you. But on the back of the designer paper is a little piece of thin cardboard, and it tells you the name of the set. It's called Painted Illusions, 12 by 12, and then it gives you all the colors that are used in this. And let's see, we have Darling Duckling, Flirty Flamingo, Granny Apple Green, Lost Lagoon, Misty Moonlight, Petal Pink, and Fresh Freesia. So let's see what this looks like. And I'll show you the page that's advertised. Now, with the product of the month, you are eligible when you reach $75. Then you can buy this for $5. Our designer papers are usually around $12, so that's a real nice deal. And you can only get it through product of the month. So let's take a look. Okay, this was the sheet that grabbed me. Anybody that knows me knows I am all about color, and you very seldom see me in black, even at funerals. But look how gorgeous this is. It's whimsical. It's got some, I forgot what you call those little patterns on it. But you can see that. And they're kind of blurred a little bit, which I love. This one is a ombre that changes colors. and it has the little, I don't know if you call those shingles, scales, whatever. And let's see. Okay, there's a different ombre look. And, oh, and then there's this Misty Moonlight piece. And more of this. So, okay, looks like you get 3 in each color, which is different because a lot of times they just give us 2 in each color. So that's another special thing. Okay, so remember, if you're placing an order, or when you place an order, they'll have a little scale, and every time you order something, it'll tell you how close you are to getting the product of the month. Now, let me show you what we're going to be doing today. I made these 2 cards a little different. You can vote on which one you like the best. This one has the white flowers with no color in them. This one I just added. I didn't color all of them, but it just gives you a little subtle thing to bring out the colors in the paper and everything that you see. And as you notice, this is embossed in gold, and it is embossed on our vellum. Vellum is back. They brought it back, and you get 12 by 12 sheets. You get 12 of those for $10. Now, it is slightly thicker than the vellum that we used before, but it's very nice, and I'm going to show you some tricks about embossing on that. So let me tell you, I'm going to put my sheet here, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do first. We have fresh freesia. This is our card base, and it is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And watch, let me show you what the bone folder does. When you give this a nice crease, how about that? Doesn't pop up. I was pretty impressed when I saw that. Hope you are. And we're going to need an envelope, a piece of vellum, and these next pieces all measure 4 by 5 1/4. So here's your designer paper, and that came from the Lovely and Beautiful paper. It's the Old Olive on the back. You've got 2 basic whites and 1 vellum. Now, one of the whites will go on the inside. And I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and stamp that right now. Let me show you what we're going to, the stamp that we're going to use to emboss is called You're On My Mind. And let me show you where that came from. Forever Florals. This set has beautiful artwork and beautiful fonts. The one we're going to be using today is You're On My Mind, and on the inside I'm going to put And In Your Heart. But we also had Forever, Always and Forever, which I used on that card, and Thinking of You. So I tell you what, we're going to just go ahead and get this out of the way. I'm going to save the You're On My Mind to do with our embossing on the vellum. And I'm going to put this, let me show you what I made. I call this a centering map, and I think I thought this up myself. I'm so proud. I used a piece of grid paper, and I think it's about 8 by 8, and Then I took a marker and measured, I put a line down for the center down, going down, and the center going across. Then these fit your cards. So if you are stamping something that is portrait, you would use that. If you were stamping something that is landscape, you would do that. Now you don't have to do this, you can just do your crosses, and it helps you better eyeball what's out there and the way it's going to look. Now, let's take a look at our card. It is landscape, meaning it's going to go across. So I want to be sure and make my inside card, the sentiment there needs to go across. And I'm going to go ahead and use the Fresh Freesia since that's the color card base we're using. And, oops, there we go. Now, I can't urge you enough that when you ink up your ink pads, test it out before you put it on your final product. Now, it's stamped real well right there. So I'm going to go ahead and ink it up again, make sure my paper is centered, and I'm just going to try to make my eyes follow the lines. And okay, and that looks fairly straight. Now I'm going to close this back up. Excuse me, I didn't even realize that my color has, my shirt has freesia and the purples in it. So, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and stick this down, and then that part of our project will be finished. Okay, and it's done so that there's 1/8 of an inch around. Okay, all right, now comes the good part. First thing I'm going to do is take this other piece of white, pardon me, let me get a supple. The Forever Florals have these awesome dies that go with them. You have one that is the full thing that we used for the front of the card, and it cuts out a hole in the middle. You've got 3 labels dies, flowers, leaves and flowers there. And let me show you what, this is what the die looks like that cuts that out. So before I bring my big shot over, I'm going to take this. Ooh, I still haven't changed my plates, and I've got some new ones. And I'm going to take the white sheet, our basic white sheet, and put it down. Now, I did it different on both cards. On this first one that shows the freesia underneath, I cut at 4 by 5 1/4. This one, I cut the full length 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. So it didn't give you the peak of what's underneath. And another thing, see how all of this is not even? I wasn't really paying attention. I was at a class, and of course we were talking. So I want to be sure that, let me see if I got my tape over here. I want to be sure that when I put this down, I have it equal on all sides. And that looks pretty equal there. Oops. Ooh. Oh, I've been trying to use this up. Okay, so I'm going to put a piece here and a piece here. Now we'll bring over my Big Shot. I keep calling it Big Shot. I know y'all are correcting me. It's the Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. And you layer it just like we did before, where you have plates 1, plate 2, which is a very thin one, and then 2 of the clear plates, the plate 3. And I see that did not hold well. So let me do it again, see if I can't get it to stick better. Move that over slightly. Okay. Then I'm going to take my second plate number 3 and put it in and give that baby a turn. Now, because it is so detailed, I'm going to go ahead and run it through a couple of times, okay? Just to make sure we get all of everything cut real well. Now, I'm going to move this out of the way, and let's see how we did. Okay, there's the center, which you could save and use for another project. I believe in saving your paper. And I'm just going to gently pull this out. But the first thing I'm going to do is I wanted to show you something. Stampin' Up! Has a die brush that is very helpful in getting all the debris, or anybody that was back in the, was that the 90s or early 2000s, the hanging chads. This helps with that. You get, I think, a couple of these little foam mats. You get a brush, but it doesn't have a handle like that. It screws into one end of the your take your pick tool, and so it's like this. And then what you do is just go through, take that brush over, take my tape off, okay, let's see, so that got a lot of it out. More will fall out as I pull it off. You can go back over this with your your die brush, and get all of these out too, those remaining little pieces. So let's see how this turned out. Okay, let me put it on here so you can see it better. Okay, it looks like everything cut right there. This side is slightly thicker, but that we're not going to worry about that. I'm going to pretend like I meant to do that. Okay, and it looks like it's only this little piece right here that didn't come out. So then you can take your pokey tool and just punch that out. And there was one, let's see, right there. Okay, I think that's got it all. Now, on one of the, let me move this out of the way, on this one, I ended up going with a few flowers and leaves, and I didn't necessarily, it was very random. So let's see, I'm going to take, these are blends that have 2 ends, one for thicker, more spacious stamps, if you want to say that, and then this one's the little one. And all I'm going to do is just like I said, randomly hit some of these. You can do as many or as few as you want. And then I'm going to do some in petal pink. Now, I wanted to remind you, if you forget to do this and you put it down and you adhere it to this, it's going to be okay because it will not bleed through to the inside because it's going to have 3 layers there. But on other things, you do need to remember that it can bleed through. This one's not doing real bad, but sometimes it really shows, and it could mess up your projects. Okay, let me do one little thing there. Okay, these kind of dry and then change colors. Let's see, this one is called Petal Pink, and again I'm using the little end, and I'm just gonna they squeak when you use them sometimes. Let's see. Okay, I'll put one over here and a couple here. And it doesn't even have to be perfect. Okay, then I'm going to take my light old olive and I'm just going to hit some of the leaves. And it doesn't matter if they're right next to a colored flower or not. It's just to bring a little pop of color in. Do that one there. And let's do one over here. Okay, that might not be as many, I didn't as many as I did there, but that's enough just to show you how to do that. Okay, so we've got our top layer, and now it's time. We're going to put our designer paper, our DSP, aside, and here is our vellum. And I have what you need to emboss are several things. You're going to need a heat tool. Hair dryers do not work. I don't think they get hot enough to melt them, because what you're doing is you're using an ink that the powder can stick to, and the ink we're using is Versamark, and it's clear. So then you put that on, and then you take your heat tool, and I do little circles like this. I used to do this, and I was always fussing about because it's messy. There's no way around it, but this will go everywhere. And I saw somebody had done it like this, and if you, well, let me show you. If you stay in little circles and stay without waving it, it keeps the powder from going everywhere. I cut out a template just so that I could better eyeball the middle. Okay, so I've got my vellum underneath. Okay, and we're going to be using You're on My Mind. And I could have done this with my centering sheet. Oop! Oh no! Did I really? Maybe not. Okay. And I forgot to use the embossing buddy. The embossing buddy is some kind of powder that's inside here, and you put it on your paper, and it keeps the the powder keeps the ink and the embossing things that you don't want embossed away. Okay, now I'm going to bring over my little tray. Now we have a tray now that's smaller and more manageable than this. This used to have a smaller tray, and of course I dropped it the other day and broke it. Okay, so I'm going to sprinkle that over. And I'm going to tap it off. Okay, see where I dropped the stamp? Let me show you what you can do. I have a little brush, and I'm just going to brush that away. And then there's no embossing powder where you don't want it to be. Okay? You get a brush, a larger brush, and tweezers that have a silicone tip so that it doesn't get hot while you're embossing. But you can hold on to this, and you always want to remove your powder or it will fly everywhere too. So I'm going to get my heat tool, and I'm going to let it run for just a second until it's hot. And if you've never seen this or never tried it, you need to do it because it is just so much fun. You can see it melt right before your eyes. You see how I'm just doing little circles there? Sometimes the paper will warp a little bit. If you'll come back on the other side, it'll usually flatten things out a bit. And then of course you're going to be adhering it. But wasn't that quick and easy? And look how gorgeous. When it turns shiny like that, I always hold it up to the light to make sure I got every place. But it goes from dull to shiny, and I just love the way that turns out. Now, so here's our template. I'm going to move out of the way. And I am going to put that down on there, and see it is coming up just a little bit, but it'll be taken care of when this is over it. Now, the thing about vellum that has always been very hard is that adhesives show through this. So if I was to take my tape runner, my stamp and seal, and do it, you would be able to see it on the other side. So what I'm going to be using today is our liquid glue. And I am just going to put, let me get this back over here, a very fine bead of glue along the edge. And then the white too is going to help cover that so that and then there's a trick to this that I didn't know about and I recently found out. Did you know that the liquid glue has two ends? It has the fine point. This end down here, if you were needing a big space that you want to put glue on, you could use that. But what I'm going to do is I am not going to squeeze it because you'll get glue coming out. But I am going to take the little, I guess it's rubber point there, and I am just going to spread this glue So, and I'm pushing it off the page so that it's not so noticeable. So see these spots that I got a little heavy on? You won't be able to see. Okay, now, let's see, one right there. Now I'm going to take, okay. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about. Can you see? I don't know if you can see that or not, but the glue does show through, so you've got to use it very sparingly and then spread it out. And this is going to fit right there. And also the liquid glue can be manipulated a little bit to get it even, and you can see that I got a little bit showing there and a little bit of the DSP there. So if that well, it's not going to show. I started to say if it bothered you, you could always trim that off. Now, okay, now the same thing. You're going to see this is going to cover that little edge that's poking out right there. Okay, so this time I'm going to go and do a little bit just like I did on the edge. And of course this doesn't matter because it's not going to show, but you just want to do this because it's such a small area. And this. And again, I'm going to use that little trick about using the other end of the glue. Just so it spreads out a little evener. Okay. Now, we're going to put this on top of here. Sometimes it works best to kind of get them all together, especially if they're the same size. And then you can get that all down, okay? Okay, now, next thing, and we can use the stamp and seal, and I am going to fold this over because I've got glue on it, and I'm just going to put this down, and remember it's a little bit smaller, so you want to be sure that you leave that 1/8 of an inch around. And I am seeing, if I had noticed this before, I would have trimmed that. Okay, so there you have. And if you want to use a little more glue, you can do that on the vellum. It does tend to warp just a little bit sometimes. But let's see, this one was very flat, and that one. And of course today's on TV is not, but we'll pretend like it is. So that is our card, and you're on my mind and in my heart. And let's see, what time is it? Do we have time to do? I'm running a little bit late. So I tell you what, I'm going to skip that today. I would put a little flower here and then one on the inside of your envelope, or on the outside of your envelope. And let me just remind you that if you're doing any coloring with blends, you need to put in, it would be better if this didn't have little legs all in it, but put a piece of cardstock or scratch paper inside before you go to use your blends, or it will bleed through, okay? Okay, so here are our cards today. I was thinking too that this would be real pretty in silver, so I'll have to give that a little whirl too. If you want to put some little tiny pearls, which I have, but they're not on my desk right now, and that would give it another little bling there for you. Okay, well, I liked today's card, and I hope you did too. Remember, if you want to place an order, please go to stampingatthebirdnest.com. Oops, you can't see that. Well, you can see it better on this. So, I just got in some brand new stamp sets that I haven't even had a chance to play with. So stay tuned because more exciting stuff is coming. Have a great rest of your week and weekend, and come back and see me. Love you.